Welcome, everybody, to episode 51 of Sports Stuff Hub Live here on October 12th, Tuesday. Glorious Tuesday. Gloomy, rainy, off and on throughout the day today here in Washington. Typical for this time of year. We did get down to some lower temperatures, as it was said 28 degrees this morning when I took my son to school. And that's typically not the types of temps we see here in October. And so my wife was like, ooh, global warming, climate change, all this stuff. And I'm not denying any of that, but as I've been saying for decades in conversations about stuff like this, the world is constantly changing anyways. And this is not a political show, and this is not a climate change show, but it was cold this morning. It was chilly. I don't want to say cold. I'm from the Midwest, and 28 degrees in the Midwest is a nice t-shirt and jeans weather in the spring. But here in Washington, now that I've lived here for about 16 years, I've come to adapt a little bit. And it is chillier at 28 degrees than it was when I was in my teens, running around at 20 degrees on a snowmobile, wearing a t-shirt and jeans and goggles, and thought it was warm. But yeah, so week 5 in the NFL has now come and gone, and we're starting to get a little bit of a more clear picture in the NFL as to who's who. Now, some of what's going on is injury related, as it happens every year. Some of it is just teams being exposed for what they really are. We had a couple of teams who came into the NFL early this season and racked up a 3-0 streak to start the season, who are now being exposed for what they really are. And that's more similar to the teams that we saw last year. Not trying to point out anybody out in particular, but the Denver Broncos, for example, have now dropped and are no longer winless, or are no longer a undefeated team. And they lost to a team that everybody had written off. And that's kind of the theme of how this season has started, is some of the good teams have had a rocky start. For example, the Bills, week 1, lost to the Steelers. And the Steelers were a team that everybody thought was going to be bad this year. And then they go out and beat the Bills week 1, and everybody goes, oh my God, the Steelers are for real, and the Steelers are going to be amazing. And then the Steelers go out and shat the bed week 2, and then the Bills go on a tear and win 4 straight weeks, and the Bills are now 4-1, and the Steelers are 2-3. And interesting. It has been an interesting start to the season. And now we have some teams that people thought were going to be fantastic. And then we've been dealing with some injuries, especially at the quarterback position. And that tends to happen every year. Last year, obviously, we lost Dak Prescott earlier in the season, and then we lost Joe Burrow later. A number of quarterbacks got hurt last year, and you see that kind of thing. And then this year, losing Tua early in the season, losing Tyrod Taylor, who wasn't really brought in to be the starter in Houston. He just is the starter in Houston because of the whole Deshaun Watson situation. And Tyrod Taylor came in and was playing very well in week 1, and then he got hurt. And now it's the Davis Mills show. And Davis Mills actually played pretty damn good the other day against the old Patriots, and looked like he could be a formidable quarterback in this league. At one point, I looked at his stats in, I think it was the third quarter, and he had just over 200 passing yards, only had like 4 incompletions or 3 incompletions, I think it was, out of 20-something pass attempts, I believe. 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and like a 148 QBR. And I was like, damn, against a Bill Belichick defense, fifth round, 6th round rookie quarterback. What the crap? And I was a little confused. And then all of a sudden, everybody's like, oh, the Patriots are dead. The Patriots are dead. The Houston Texans are kicking the snot out of them. And then the Patriots did what the Patriots do, and they came back and squeaked out a win, and Mac Jones gets his first win of the season, not against Zach Wilson. So granted, Mac Jones's only 2 wins of the season have come against other rookie quarterbacks, and that would be Zach Wilson and now Davis Mills. Sorry, I'm really dry mouthed today. I've been drinking water like crazy. We are going to do a little NFL recap. Might as well get into that now, and then we're going to talk a little sports cards later, because I got some things I want to talk about. Week 5 in the NFL, as I mentioned, had some surprises. Thursday night, we ended up with a really what was turning up to be a pretty good matchup. The Rams at the Seahawks, and the Rams ended up really walking away with this game, 26-17. And to be quite honest, it wasn't until Russell Wilson got hurt and Geno Smith came in that they were really moving the ball. I want to say it was Seahawks only put up 7 points prior to Russell Wilson getting hurt. And I'm not going to show any of the pictures of Russell Wilson's hand because I believe that was done enough the night of the game, and it drives me crazy when they continue to put that stuff on the screen, and we don't want to see it. I don't need to see 16 angles of Russell Wilson's dislocated finger and how bad it was. I don't need to see it. Show the replay once, move on. Folks, it's pretty bad. You know, we're not going to show it. But instead, oh, look at this. Look at how bad his finger is. Oh, my God, it's pointed the wrong direction. Yeah, no crap. That's called a dislocation. We don't need to see it. Now, I'm not squeamish, but I don't need to see another person's dislocated finger in 18 different views. So, again, show it the once. Oh, that's what happened. Okay, move on. It's not complicated. Just don't. Anyway, so Geno Smith comes in and in the second half and ends up doing what the Seahawks hadn't done the entire beginning of the game, and Geno Smith led him down for a touchdown and a field goal in consecutive drives. And everybody was like, ooh, Geno Smith might be the guy now, and Russell Wilson's not coming back in. Geno Smith this, Geno Smith that. And then after those 2 drives, he threw an interception and kind of killed everybody's hopes. But either way, Geno Smith looks to be the starting quarterback moving forward for the Seattle Seahawks, as Russell Wilson is on the shelf for at least 3 to 4 weeks as he went going in for surgery, or maybe already, I think he might have already had surgery. And somebody showed a picture because they'd had surgery on their finger. He tore a tendon, I guess, and it's right here in his hand. Like right in this area right here. It's for his middle finger. And that tendon is apparently a bad thing to have torn. And so he's going to miss like 4, potential 6 weeks of the season. And so Geno Smith is going to be the guy going forward for the foreseeable future. And the Seahawks travel to Pittsburgh this week. And I put up a tweet earlier today. Because, as I mentioned earlier, the Steelers have lost several games. Now, granted, the Steelers had, going into the season, the toughest schedule based on last year's records in the NFL. And now this week, the Seahawks travel to Pittsburgh, a Geno Smith-led Seahawks team. And so I put up a tweet earlier, and this just kind of sums it up as to what I feel Steelers-wise. And this is kind of what I feel like as a Steelers fan through the first 5 weeks. And now keep in mind, this is going into week 6 facing the Seahawks. Losing to a Geno Smith-led Seahawks team in Pittsburgh in primetime would be the most 2021 Steelers thing the Steelers could do. Yeah. Yep. Honestly, I'd rather face Russell Wilson. Because there's one thing that I will say, and this is not a knock on Russell Wilson. This is not a knock on his ability at all. Russell Wilson's game is quite a bit different than Geno Smith. Russell Wilson, especially this year, doesn't throw the ball over the middle. And so basically, you don't have to play that part of the field as tight. Geno Smith came in and moved the ball against LA because LA had kind of the same game plan against Russell Wilson that I'm talking about right now. They didn't really have to cover the middle of the field. They have to cover the perimeter, and they have to cover deep. And that's what they were doing. Geno Smith comes in and starts slinging it right down the pipe. 10-yard ins, slants, everything coming across the middle. And they were moving the ball because the Rams weren't prepared to defend that because they had game planned for Russell Wilson. So now with Geno Smith in there, you got to cover the whole field. Now, I'm not saying that Geno Smith is a stellar quarterback, obviously. He's from the 2013 draft class. He's a younger quarterback than Russell Wilson, and he did not last. Obviously, everybody knows he was with the Jets, and the Jets were the Jets. But Geno Smith is a serviceable fill-in quarterback while Russell Wilson is out. So, yes. Could he carve up a defense? Yes. Can he do it, especially if a defense is planning to face Russell Wilson? Absolutely, just like he did against the Rams. But then as soon as he started throwing the ball around where the Russell Wilson game plan was, that's when he got picked. So, Seahawks, if they attack the middle of the field, there's a good chance they're going to rout the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend, even with Geno Smith. And so, as I said, a Geno Smith-led Seahawks team coming into Pittsburgh in primetime and beating the Steelers would be as 2021 Steelers as it could get. So anyway, last Thursday, Rams take down the Seahawks in Seattle, 26-17. Russell Wilson's going to be out for a little while. Then we've got we had the London game. The Jets and the Falcons, and Atlanta takes down the Jets in London. Now, I'm not sure who scheduled this matchup in London, but if I'm a fan of the NFL in London and the Jets and the Falcons came, I'd be like, what the crap? Why are they here? I mean, I get it. They're professional football teams. And this is a country that doesn't get professional football games every year. Well, actually, they kind of have, except for last year. But they don't get week in and week out football in the fall like we do. So it's like, I guess I can kind of see it, but at the same time, I'm just like, you'd think we maybe would have sent one contender over there? Maybe? Maybe they just felt like they needed it to be a competitive game and they didn't want somebody just absolutely routing the other team. I don't know. Could be. Either way, Matt Ryan had a fantastic game. Kyle Pitts went nuclear. Finally, took him until week 5. And it was a good game. Then the rest of the morning games, the standard morning games, I should say, we had an awkward one in Cincinnati. Green Bay traveled to Cincinnati. And honestly, I thought this was going to be an absolute routing by Green Bay, just lighting up Cincinnati. And Cincinnati actually did a pretty good job of weathering the storm and keeping Green Bay honest. Now, granted, yes, Devontae Adams went off for 200-plus receiving yards, and Aaron Jones ran for 100. But this game would have been over substantially earlier if field goals would have been able to be made. Mason Crosby missed 3 field goals, and Cincinnati's kicker missed 2 field goals in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter and overtime. Okay? So forget the rest of the game. In the final 2 minutes of the game and overtime, which overtime period is only 10 minutes, in the final 2 minutes of the game and overtime, there was 5 consecutive missed field goals. 5 chances to win the game, all blown. And then Mason Crosby ends up hitting the game-winning field goal in overtime to win the game 25-22. So the interesting thing that I saw, and I listened to Aaron Rodgers talk about this, Matt LaFleur, head coach, asked Rodgers and asked Crosby about kicking after missing 3 straight. And both Crosby and Rodgers had faith in Mason Crosby. Let's do it. And the fact, number one, that Matt LaFleur consulted his quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, about the decision, but then also checked on the status of Mason Crosby. Hey, how's your head doing, bud? Can you do this? Are you able to go out there and drill this? We've set you up. And he says, yeah, I got this. And Rodgers goes, he's got it. That's pretty awesome. And then he goes out and gets it. Happy for that. I don't believe it should have lasted that long. I do believe that Mason Crosby should have maybe looked at Matt LaFleur and been like, I got this. Maybe 2 field goals earlier. Ended the game earlier. But either way, they still got it. And Mason Crosby, for some reason, for some unknown reason, had an issue and couldn't hit field goals for a 10-minute stretch of a game. Just bizarre. I've never seen that out of Mason Crosby. Just bizarre. So anyway, Green Bay takes down Cincinnati 25-22 in overtime. And, Rodgers threw for 344 yards. Aaron Jones ran for over 100. And Devontae Adams went off for 200-plus receiving yards. It was a pretty interesting game. Like I said, a lot closer than I anticipated. And then you had Minnesota travel to Detroit for a divisional game, and another game that I expected to be more of a blowout than what it was. This one, 19-17, and Minnesota drilled a field goal with they got the ball back with 26 seconds, whatever it was, in the fourth quarter, down 1, because Detroit elected to go for 2. They scored a touchdown. So, get this. Minnesota had 16 points. Detroit was driving down in the fourth quarter, down 7. It was 9-16, Minnesota lead. Detroit scores the touchdown. And instead of kicking the field goal, instead of kicking the extra point to tie it, Motor City Dan Campbell decides to go for it and goes for the 2-point conversion. All bets are off at this point. And they get it. With 20-something seconds left in the game, Detroit goes up 1 point. But Minnesota has the equalizer. Kirk Cousins. Kirk, you like that? Cousins. And Kirk marches down the field after the kickoff and puts them in field goal range. And Detroit drops an absolute heartbreaker to Minnesota on their own field. And Dan Campbell after the game was emotional, rightfully so. This guy is a coach. This guy is a leader. This guy has his entire team behind him. And I love to see it. Dan Campbell is a coach. he is fantastic, and he is made to be a coach. You know, a lot of people gave him a lot of crap when he got hired, that he was just some meathead that was going to come in, and he talked about gnawing on ankles and biting kneecaps off and all this kind of stuff. But you know what? He is fantastic with his discussions, with his speeches, with his press conferences, and he says the right things in just a different way. And it's something that we're not used to seeing, and it's entertaining. It's, you know, it's not like a Mike Tomlin with his Tomlinisms, but it's a raw, unfiltered Dan Campbell. And whether he's emotional to the point where he's upset that his team lost, and he's wearing his emotions on his sleeve, and he's got tears coming out because he feels for his team. These guys worked so hard, and he puts them in positions, helps to put them in positions to win games, and then things like that happen. And it was fantastic watching that presser post game and seeing real Dan Campbell out there, and that's the way he is every press conference. I encourage you all to watch a Dan Campbell press conference. He is entertaining, and you can tell he truly does love football. His passion for football is unmatched. So anyway, Minnesota walks off field goal, 19-17. Cousins throws for 275. Alexander Madison, in replacement of Dalvin Cook, goes off for 113 yards, with Justin Jefferson having one of his best games of the season, putting up 124 receiving yards. The game I talked about earlier, Pittsburgh and Denver. And this was in Pittsburgh. And I'm sorry, the game before it, that was Detroit was at Minnesota. That was my fault. Denver at Pittsburgh. Denver was a favorite because of how bad Pittsburgh has played in several games this season. They lost last week to Green Bay. They lost the week before to Las Vegas. They came into this game 1-3 after beating the Bills week 1. And everybody thought after beating the Bills that maybe the Steelers were better than advertised, because everybody had them dead to rights, being the last team, the worst team in the AFC North, which they haven't been the worst team in the AFC North, I think, since before Ben was drafted. Long before Ben was drafted. They haven't had a losing season since 2003. And I know a lot of people were like, this could be their first losing season since then. And then they beat the Bills week 1. The Bills were supposed to be, preseason. The Bills were dubbed as being the second coming of the Super Bowl, the AFC Super Bowl team. They were in the AFC Championship game last year against the Chiefs and lost. And now everybody has them dubbed this year to be the potential AFC representatives in the Super Bowl. Is what everybody's got them picked as the favorites. And Pittsburgh goes and beats them week 1. Stuns everybody. And then the Bills just went nuts for 4 straight weeks after that. And Pittsburgh went the exact opposite direction and blew game after game after game. Losing to Cincinnati. Losing to Green Bay. Losing to Las Vegas. Just ugly. And then they come in this past week, and people had Denver picked in Pittsburgh to win. And Pittsburgh did what Pittsburgh has done in past years and beat a team that they were expected to lose to. Talk about bipolar. The offensive line looked good. Najee Harris ran for 122 yards. That was his first 100-yard rushing production game of his young career in the NFL. And he was running at a 5-yard per clip. The offensive line was actually blocking. Chase Claypool had his best game of the season so far, 130 receiving yards. First drive of the season, which was the first time that Pittsburgh has scored a touchdown in their opening drive in like 16 games. 16 games! They had not scored an opening drive touchdown. Longest streak in the NFL. Deontay Johnson busts a 53-yard touchdown first drive. Then Juju gets hurt. Bye-bye Juju. We're already down James Washington. Juju's out. Juju's gone for the season on IR, shoulder injury. I saw it as soon as he got hit. I looked at my wife and I was like, that's shoulder dislocation. I know what that is. I've had those enough times. Surgeries multiple times, and I've dislocated this one a couple of times. And I saw that hit and I was like, yep, shoulder's gone. And the way he was walking to the sideline, I was like, yep, blown out. Completely blown out. And those are that, depending on what happened, that could be a tough recovery, period. Even with the surgery. Even with the surgery. Now, I'm sure since my surgeries back in 2001 and 2002, that there's advances in medical, all that fun stuff. I hear that all the time. That's fantastic. But if he, and I want to look into this, I want to know, did the cartilage get blown off the bone wall? Because the way the shoulder sits, like this, and there's cartilage along this wall, right here, that keeps the shoulder from popping out. And if this cartilage detached from the bone wall, that's not an easy fix. That could be a couple of years until that's actually fully healed and stable. I know. I dealt with that. 2 surgeries and several years of healing. Bogus. It sucked. That's what ended my college career. I know how that works. Now, again, we're 20 years later. Maybe there's new medical stuff, new techniques, whatever, and hopefully speedy recovery, but he's gone for the season. They put him on season-ending IR. So anyway, Pittsburgh ends up winning 27-19 on a game that really Pittsburgh dominated the entire game until late in the game when Denver actually put up some points. Then you had an absolute blowout in Tampa. Miami went across the state, went to Tampa, got their asses handed to them. Tom Brady threw 5 touchdowns, 411 yards. Antonio Brown went off for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans had 2 touchdowns. For all I know, Chris Godwin had 2 touchdowns. Leonard Fournette had 2 touchdowns. Ronald Jones had 2 touchdowns. I don't know. I mean, they absolutely destroyed Miami. It was 45-17. So, but I know Tom Brady threw 5, and I know 2 of them were to Antonio Brown, and I'm pretty sure the 2 of them were to, I think it was Mike Evans. I don't think it was Godwin. But either way, Tom Brady at 44 years old is leading the NFL in passing yards. Yep, New England, he was done. Ship him out of there because he was done. He ain't going to win you games anymore. He's over the hill. Yep, that's what happens. Yep. It's got to suck to be anybody in New England's organization that got asked. Now, I don't know if Bill Belichick actually asks anybody anything, but if he went around and said, I don't know, what do you guys think about Tom Brady? Should we let him go? I mean, he's old. He didn't do well last year. Doesn't seem like he wants to be here. That's probably the conversation Bill had with himself in the mirror. I don't think he would actually have that conversation with anybody except for maybe his son, who looks stoned out of his mind 90% of the time when he's standing on the sideline. But Belichick has to absolutely be pissed at himself, which he's probably not pissed at himself. He's probably pissed at somebody else, even though it was his own dang fault. But Yeah, Tom Brady. New Orleans went into Tampa, and the New Orleans Saints, the most bipolar team in the NFL this year, went into what everybody believed was one of the toughest defenses going into the season in Washington and put up a 30-burger on them, 33-22. Jameis threw for 279 yards. Alvin Kamara ran for 71, and Marcus Callaway went for 85 yards and another touchdown. And Taysom Hill took an ugly shot to the head, and he's probably going to miss several weeks. And I believe the player was ejected for it, too, because, I mean, it was a clear headshot. It was ugly. So, anyway, New Orleans goes into Washington and thumps them pretty bad. One game that surprised me was Philly at Carolina. I had Carolina picked for this game, and I publicly apologized to the fans and the players and the organization of the Philadelphia Eagles for publicly picking Carolina over Philly. And Carolina is another one of those teams that I think may have been a product of their schedule as far as their 3-0 start. And so Carolina came out to an early lead against Philly. And then it was like late third quarter, Philly kind of like woke up and went, oh, crap. We got like 16 minutes left in this game, guys. What happened? We're like, we got to score some points because they're up. And so Philly then went on a run with picking off Sam Bradford a couple of times too. Not Sam Bradford, Sam Darnold. That's dating me a little bit, Sam Bradford. Picking off Sam Darnold a couple of times and putting the ball back in Jalen Hurts' hands. Jalen Hurts didn't even throw for 200 yards, but Philly still put up 21 points. Devontae Smith led all receivers with 77 yards. Chuba Hubbard actually looked pretty good running for Carolina, filling in for an injured McCaffrey. And McCaffrey sounds like he might be back in the next couple of weeks, but we'll see. Chuba Hubbard is actually pretty solid running back to replace him. Kind of pulling a Mike Davis from last year. I would like to see McCaffrey get a full season. It's, 2 years ago he got his full season. Tennessee at Jacksonville. Another divisional game. And Tennessee still missing receivers. And yet they have Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry didn't lead the game in rushing yards. You're playing one of the worst teams in the NFL. Your two top receivers are injured. And you don't run the ball. Get a load of this. Tennessee won 37-19. Trevor Lawrence led the game in passing yards with 273 yards. James Robinson led the game in rushing yards with 149 rushing yards. And Dan Arnold, I believe tight end for Tennessee, Jacksonville. My bad. Sorry. Jacksonville led all players in receiving yards with 64. So Tennessee won the game 37-19, but had no statistical leaders except for touchdowns, where Derrick Henry scored 3. I know because he's on my fantasy roster. So Tennessee walks all over Jacksonville in a divisional game. I shouldn't even say walks all over them. It's kind of hard to say because it just wasn't a great statistical game. And that's 2 weeks in a row now that Tennessee's been without Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. And they don't rely on the run more in those games. You would think that they would go and just run, change it up, throw a pass. Run, change it up, throw a pass. Run, change it up, throw a pass. But they're not. And that's why they lost to the Jets, in my opinion. That was last week, by the way. And then we've got New England at Houston. And this was the game I was talking about a little bit ago. Davis Mills went off for 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And it took a comeback win by the Patriots after everybody had the Patriots written off in this game, expecting them to lose in the third quarter when they were down. It was like 20, wasn't it like 25-3 or something like that? Some odd score, or 22-3 or something like that. And then New England just kind of went, oh, hey, we're going to win this game, by the way. And then they go up and win 25-22, and Mac Jones gets his second win of the season. And it happens to just be against another rookie quarterback, and it's the only players he can win against, apparently. Anyway, New England goes in and wins 25-22 in a game that they should have just blown out Houston. Chicago at Vegas. Now, this was a disappointing game. I had Las Vegas picked to win this game. And we'll talk about the John Gruden stuff later. But Chicago coming into Vegas should not beat Vegas, especially based on the two rosters. Yes, Chicago might have a little bit better, well, they have a couple of better defensive players. But overall, Las Vegas has shown to have the better defense, and yet Vegas got beat 20-9. Derek Carr only threw for 206 yards. Derek Carr was leading the league in passing yards just a couple weeks ago, and now he's fallen to like 5th. And the Raiders have kind of tanked, well, imploded, we'll call it, over the last 2 weeks. And it's not looking good for them because they lose to a team like Chicago, which should be a winnable game for them. And now they're going to fall behind. And all of a sudden now the Chargers are going to walk away with the division because the Chargers are now taking down everybody. And the Chargers are literally a couple plays away in one game from being 5-0. I mean, that's the reality of it. So Chicago goes in, beats them 20-9. Vegas now struggling with staying ahead of the Chiefs. Cleveland went into Los Angeles, and some people thought this was going to be a low-scoring game and that Cleveland was going to walk away with this one, and it ended up being the opposite. It ended up being a high-scoring game, which ended with the Chargers with the W. Justin Herbert threw for 398 yards and 4 touchdowns, and there was 6 touchdowns scored in the fourth quarter alone. And not just by the Chiefs, or Chargers, I mean. But it was 6 touchdowns between the two teams in the fourth quarter alone. They were just throwing haymakers back and forth. And Mike Williams had a big game, 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nick Chubb went off for 161 rushing yards. Justin Herbert, 398 and 4 touchdowns. And the Browns ended up with a massive amount of stats and no turnovers and lost the game. 47-42. 89 points put up in a game with 6 touchdowns being scored in the last quarter. 89 points. There was something like, I think I read it somewhere, I think ESPN put up the stats, or NFL.com put up the stats. There was like 900 yards of total offense, or 1,000 yards of total offense between the two teams. I think it was 1,000, or maybe even 1,100, because Herbert threw for almost 400. Chubb ran for 161, and Mayfield threw for 350, I think. So, I mean, that's massive. That's huge. There was no defense at all in that game. There's no defense at all in that game. You know, after Cleveland, really laid a stinker offensively just a week prior, and then they come out and they try to score all the points in the following game, and then they still lost. I mean, that's the ugly truth about this, is that Cleveland lost that game. And the Chargers, man, the Chargers look like the real deal. Dang. 4-1. Could the Chargers be a contender for the Super Bowl this year? Staley comes in, replacing... Yeah, we don't need to talk about it, but... And all of a sudden, they're winning the games that Anthony Lynn couldn't last year? And Justin Herbert's throwing for almost 400 yards in a game against a really good defense, and they're just dissecting teams and putting up points? This is crazy. And Mike Williams is having a resurgence for his career. I mean, this was a guy who was injured most of his rookie year, had kind of a meh second year. He was a 2017 rookie. 2018 was kind of meh. People were talking about how he's potentially a bust. 2019, he had, I believe it was 10 touchdowns. 2020 rolled around. He had 1,000 receiving yards. And now this year he's on pace for both 1,010 touchdowns. And then you got Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler. Eckler is going off, too. Eckler's looking freaking good. It was funny, if you watch the game, Eckler was trying to not score the last touchdown too early because he didn't want to give Cleveland a chance to get the ball and score. And the Cleveland defense actually pushed him into the end zone to score the touchdown so that they could get the ball back sooner. Talk about game awareness. That's crazy. So anyway, Chargers take down the Browns 47-42 in Los Angeles. New York at Dallas, and this was kind of a walk away for Dallas. They ended up winning 44-20. It started off close, but then Saquon got hurt, and Zeke ran, Pollard ran, Dak threw the ball. Kadarius Toney, man, now that kid, Giants first round draft pick wide receiver. Giants actually do well in drafting wide receivers. Odell Beckham, Sterling Shepard. They do well. Darius Slayton is actually a pretty good wide receiver. Kadarius Toney, 189 receiving yards. Probably would have gone for over 2. Now, he now holds the record for most receiving yards by a Giants rookie wide receiver, surpassing Odell Beckham Jr., who had like 184, I believe, for the record before. And Kadarius Toney would have probably crossed 200 had he not thrown a punch at a defender wearing a helmet. And, all right, timeout from the football, timeout from the Week 5 talk. I played football through high school and in college. And I never went beyond college because I never got to finish playing in college. So I never got to know if I was good enough. But at 17 years old in high school, I knew not to try to punch an opponent wearing a helmet with my bare hand. At 16 years old in high school, I knew not to throw a punch at an opponent wearing a helmet with my bare hand. And we have professional athletes in the NFL that are in their 20s that are throwing haymakers at their opponents' helmets. Tell me, Kadarius Toney, what are you thinking about where your money is made using your hands to catch the ball? These are the most valuable asset you have. And you throw a punch at an opposing player's helmet. If you connect the way your intention was, you threw a really bad punch, by the way, but if you connected in the way your intention was, you break fingers. And then you're on IR. And then you get cut. And then you struggle bouncing around to different rosters. Because then you're also known as a hothead. And this is one thing that, especially for the young guys, that they need to learn how to keep their composure. And I don't know, maybe they didn't do the rookie symposium this year. Maybe they don't put the young kids through anger management classes in the NFL anymore. I know that was a thing, kind of a thing back in the day. But they need to keep that in check. To throw a punch with your bare hand at a helmet that is designed to protect the player wearing it might be one of the dumbest things you could do in professional sports. Might be. I'm sure there's probably some other really dumb things, but that might rank up there with one of the dumbest. So, Kadarius Toney, please don't do that anymore. The ejection, whatever, that notwithstanding, that's a whole separate matter. These are your asset. Protect them. Don't go throwing haymakers at helmets. Now, I'm not telling you to rip the guy's helmet off and punch him either, or wait until he's got it off. I don't mean don't throw a punch, period, but keep your emotions in check, pal. I get it. You're frustrated. You didn't get utilized in the first couple of games of the season, and you were outspoken about it. I get it. You showed how good you can be. 189 yards in 3 1/3 quarters. You would have, well, I don't even remember what quarter it was he got ejected. But you would have surpassed 200. You're dominant. You can be dominant. You were playing against a Dallas defense that picks the ball off a lot. They're not a restricting defense, but they're a ball hawking, turnover forcing defense, and you exploited bad coverage, and you did it very well. Keep that up, but keep the emotions in check. Please. Okay, back to the recap. Kadarius Toney, 189 yards, sets the Giants' rookie record, surpassing Odell Beckham Jr. Dallas walks away with the game 44-20. Absolute slobber knocker laid out on the Giants there. San Francisco at Arizona. And I was torn on this game. And no, you guys all know. I'm a North Dakota State guy. I'm a Trey Lance fan. And Trey Lance got his first start of his NFL career because Jimmy Garoppolo is hurt. But I also think that Arizona Cardinals are a very good team and potentially one of the best teams in the NFL this year. This was a game that I did not expect Trey Lance to come in, throw for 500 yards, run for 200, and 4 touchdowns. I did not expect that one bit. Arizona's defense is too good for that. Trey did what I thought Trey would do and led an offense and made a few rookie mistakes, but he adapted, learned, and grew during the game. You could see him making adjustments and going. Trey Lance led the 49ers. He led the game in rushing yards with 89 yards. Kyler Murray led the game in passing yards with 239, but Trey Lance showed that he can read defenses, that he can throw some accurate balls, because my God, did he throw a couple of darts to some places that nobody was catching that ball but the receiver. Now, he had a couple errant passes, absolutely. That comes with the territory, and he's got a short memory. You can tell, and I love watching this kid. And he figured it out, and he will move the ball. If it wasn't for a couple of 4th and 2 and 3rd and short situations that they didn't convert, Niners probably would have won that game. He got buried on about the 6-inch line trying to run in a touchdown. And this is another one of those situational awareness type of things. It was 4th and goal, and he got leveled at the 6-inch line, absolutely stonewalled, where he tucked to somewhat dive, but to protect himself. But had he, again, awareness-wise, gone up or a pullback step and dove headfirst low backwards, or I should say on a cutback instead of on the angle he was at, he probably scores that touchdown. So again, rookie situational awareness where he's growing, and he's going to probably watch that film. I would bet you, because of how much of a student of the game this kid is, he is probably watching that play and dissecting every step he made on that run, thinking about ways that he could have adjusted that and scored that. And he will fix that, and that will not happen next time. And I'm excited for that kid. Anyway, Arizona wins 17-10 in Arizona. Heartbreaking loss for Trey Lance's first start. Then we had the evening game of Buffalo at Kansas City, and I talked a little bit about how Buffalo has been on a tear since losing to Pittsburgh in week 1, and they really beat the doors off Kansas City. And this was not what I expected to see. Mahomes got picked a couple of times. He was inaccurate. They shut down the passing game for the most part. Mahomes ended up leading the game in rushing yards with 61 because he had to. They didn't put a pass rush on him, but he couldn't get to his receivers because of the coverage. And then Buffalo just went off. 38-20, Buffalo. AFC favorites to win, to go to the Super Bowl this year. I'd call them that. And then Monday night game, last night's game. It was a good game. I'm not going to lie. It was a good game. Indy was up big. Indy was up 16 points going into the fourth quarter and then lost the game 31-25 in overtime. Indy's defense absolutely imploded. Now, that is also because they had two guys who got hurt. Rhodes, out, concussed, and that was on his own hit. So that's his own fault. And then Sendejo, he's out as well. I don't remember what the injury for him was, but losing both of those two, there's a reason why Lamar Jackson picked them apart to end the game. And Mark Andrews had a hell of a fourth quarter. Marquise Brown had a really good game. And then Lamar Jackson threw for 442 yards. Carson Wentz threw for 400 yards. Lamar Jackson threw for 400 yards. Lamar Jackson didn't cross 100 rushing yards in this game. Now, the Ravens won the game, but they lost their streak of rushing for 100-plus yards in a game. And that's unfortunate, but it happened. And I don't think that they're looking at it waking up this morning going, God, that sucks. They're looking at it going, man, we got out of that. We got away with one. Because the Colts shouldn't have given that game up. And Carson Wentz looked like 2018 Carson Wentz. And that two teams should be scary. Because if 2018 Carson Wentz comes back and he gets lined up with Pittman and Paris Campbell and Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines, and then they get T.Y. Hilton back, oof. 2018 Carson Wentz is going to be a scary team leader there. That's the Carson Wentz I was expecting to see in Indy. And he did what he got away from how he's been playing lately. He got so abused in Philadelphia, and he got in the mindset that he had to go all out every play. And he had to be the one to create the plays and make everything happen. And that was the mindset he had, and that caused him to get hurt. Well, 2 weeks ago, that's what caused him to sprain both of his ankles in one game at the same time. Okay, understand this. I love the Pat McAfee nickname that he gave Carson Wentz, Old Two Sprains. That guy sprained both of his ankles on the same play and didn't even know it until after the game. And I think that was an awakening for him that, hey, I've got support. Jonathan Taylor had a hell of a game. Jonathan Taylor had a fantastic game. And now he has playmakers because he threw the ball really well last night. He threw for 400 yards. I don't think we've seen that from Carson Wentz since 2018. I could go back and check my stats, but I'm not going to do that while I have you guys on right now. But that Carson Wentz can win some games. Now, when Indy's defense gets back healthy, yeah, Indy's defense can shut down a team like that, and they walk away with a W. But they got to have that next man up mentality, otherwise they're going to continue to lose some games. So last night, Baltimore, at Baltimore, Indianapolis comes in. Baltimore squeaks by with a game-winning walk-off touchdown in overtime and wins 31-25. And Taylor just chimes in and says, hey, just an FYI, I'm watching, but I have the volume down. We have people over for dinner. Taylor, you don't have to have me on all the time, man. I get it. I get it, bro. But thank you very much for the support, man. Okay, so we're going to talk about a couple of things. So, Pittsburgh. We're going to get back to this. I said this on Sunday with Pittsburgh being able to play on against Denver and running the ball. And I've been very critical of the Steelers this season, and rightfully so. I am a fan, obviously. Which way do I turn? I'm obviously a fan. My hat, literally an NFL Shield hat, because I'm an NFL fan first and foremost, but it's literally the Steelers colors, okay? I'm a Steelers fan. But I'm also real. And when they screw up, I'm critical of them. When they don't do things right, I'm critical of them. When they don't make the right adjustments, I'm critical of them. When they suck, I'm going to be critical of them. Because I want them to make the adjustments that everybody else sees and move forward. And one of the biggest things that I've said since the offseason, since the end of last season, was their offensive line play. I said this during last season. With all the injuries, they have to improve the offensive line. And then they lose Alejandro Villanueva, who went downhill last year. Zach Banner got hurt last year, and he's still hurt this year. He should be back, hopefully, in a couple weeks. Marquise Pouncey got hurt last year and then retired. Marquise Pouncey was one of the best centers in the NFL for a decade. One of Ben's best friends. And now they have two rookies and two guys who haven't been with the team before this year. Starting. One of those rookies is the center. Now, yes, does it take time for an offensive line to gel? Does it take time for rookies to learn? Yeah. But they got obliterated for 3 straight games. And then the fourth game against Green Bay, they didn't get pressured, but they couldn't run the ball. They couldn't open up a running lane to save their lives. But they didn't get pressured on. Ben still got sacked a couple of times, but he was so used to getting sacked that he was throwing the ball too soon. And then against Denver, they figured it out. Now, I said this during the game. I'm either happy because they seem to have figured it out, or I'm nervous because this is a product of the defense that we were playing at the time. Was this a product of playing Denver, who, yes, was 3-0 to start the season, but look who they played? Was Denver actually a bad team playing against worse teams? Could be. We won't know yet for a few more weeks at least, but Denver now has dropped 2 straight. So, the Steelers beat the brakes off Denver. But was it because their they figured it out, or was it because Denver is just a bad team? And that's what makes me nervous. Now we have Seattle coming into town. A Geno Smith-led Seattle team, which that's the kind of stuff that my nightmares are made of being a Steelers fan, because it's not the starting quarterback. Give me the starting quarterback for any team playing against the Steelers. We fare better against that than their backup. Because the preparation, I don't know what it is, but they don't seem to prepare well against a backup. It's almost like the defense prepares to play the starter, even though the starting quarterback, it's announced they're not playing. You fool us. We know you're going to start Russell Wilson. This whole surgery thing, oh, you can't fool us. Geno Smith trots out. No. It's Russell Wilson. We know Russell Wilson's going to play. Geno Smith's out for the coin toss. Oh, you can't fool us. We know. Geno Smith trots out to start the huddle. Oh, no. Russell Wilson's coming in. We know it. But you know what? With Geno Smith being in, we're going to play this defense exactly like we were playing against Russell Wilson, because we know you can't fool us. That's what I'm nervous about. That's what I'm afraid of. They're going to play like they're playing against Russell Wilson, and they're going to game plan like Geno Smith is Russell Wilson. And that's what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm afraid of. All right. Week 5 recap's over. So I'm going to make my week 6. Actually, I'm going to hold off my week 6 picks because I'm kind of liking putting them up like right before the games. But we're going to talk a little hobby talk real quick. I got a couple of things I want to talk about. Well, first and foremost, some exciting news. We did our first comic book convention this last weekend at the Tacoma Convention Center. It was Grit City Comic Show, which was put on by the same company that does Jet City Comic Show, and it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. We brought well over 1,000 pops, and I'm glad I didn't go up to 2,000 like I had originally anticipated, because we wouldn't have had the room for it. We were in a 10 by 10 corner booth, and thankfully the people around us were very understanding, because we were outside of our bounds. The amount of stuff we brought, we did not have room for, and so we have to adjust. But it was, all in all, it was really fun. It was really good. Got to meet a lot of new people, a lot of new collectors, because we've never done a comic show before. And we moved quite a few Funko Pops. I think we came close to 100 Pops in one day sold, and that was really cool. Moved a lot of, $10 and $15 Pops, and then started to move some of the $20, $30 stuff, and then moved a couple of bigger ones. Which is nice, but it was a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to the next show that we can do. I got word of a Toy Con that's happening in the beginning of November. That's going to be at the old Toys R Us in Puyallup, and I want to try to set up for that. And I'm trying to email people that might know about it to try to see if I can get on board with it. I got to find out. From the sounds of it, it's the same company that runs Washington Summer Con, and I've emailed them, but I haven't heard back. But I want to do another toy convention. I want to do another convention where I can put up Pops, because it was really good for us. And we bought some new shelving, and we want to utilize that a little bit more. Rented a U-Haul trailer for the day, and I'm excited to move forward with our Pops. As we grow the business, because we are aiming by the end of 2022 to open up an actual storefront. The idea is up here in Bonnie Lake, and doing these toy conventions and Comic Cons is kind of a step in the direction of getting that accomplished. And as long as we don't have any major setbacks, then I don't see why we can't pull it off. We are going to sign up for SummerCon, which is a 3-day convention in Puyallup in June. And we're going to have a big booth for that. This last weekend we had a 10 by 10. We're going to do a 10 by 20. And we're going to bring substantially more. And, so that's kind of the direction we're going in terms of the collectibles. We're going to step back from one of the card shows every month. Most likely it's going to be Portland. We're going to surrender Portland every month because we're aiming for shows that don't knock us out of Auburn. The main thing is we want to try to keep the Auburn show because that's kind of our bread and butter. And if we have to give up Everett or Portland, then so be it. But I want to make sure that we're getting a con or comic book show or toy show at least once a quarter going forward. Now, our goal eventually is to do a con like Emerald City Comic Con, but that's like a 5-year plan because that's massive. We would literally have to bring 5,000 plus pops to that type of show because it's that chaotic and that crazy, and there's that many people that show up, and I really don't believe we are. I don't believe that we are big enough to handle that kind of show. So, but long term, that's kind of our goal moving forward. And for the SummerCon, I do plan on hiring somebody to work that show for us because that is 3 days. And, working 3 straight days of 10-hour days like that is going to be a bit much. So we'll probably hire somebody to come in and work so that we can kind of alternate shifts and stuff. But, yeah, so that's where we're going. We do have a show next weekend in Everett again. And so we're going to go up and do the Saturday show in Everett. That's next weekend, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. So make sure you guys go check that out if you're in the area. Something I want to talk about, and I kind of had I had a conversation with Taylor earlier today, and we were talking about a number of things, and I kind of started to get something off my chest that, as I get asked this a lot. Okay, you guys know that I run group breaks, obviously. And I've been doing it for a number of years. The relaunch that we did in April was a relaunch. Okay, I broke years prior. With the way sports cards have increased in value, obviously, it has created a higher demand, but not necessarily just by collectors, by people just looking to make money. And when you go out and you go to a store to look for retail to pick up a couple of something, for example, ripping on my show, I like to have a blast or a mega or something so that I can do a product preview on the show here, maybe give a few things away. It makes it really tough to find retail. And I get DMs on all 3 social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, daily of people asking if I want to buy the retail stash that they just wiped out Target of, or Walmart of, or a Kroger, or Myers, or whoever else the case may be that they just wiped out 20 blasters and 10 megas and blah, 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 blah. And then they ask me if I want to buy it off of them. And I tell them, I'm like, I'm not really that interested, but I'm just curious what kind of price you're asking. And they give me straight up retail or straight up secondary market prices. And I'm like, look, I'm number one, I'm not going to pay those prices. If you're expecting me to use it for breaks, I can't mark it up. And I mean, I'm at a loss if I break it at retail or at secondary market prices at that point. And they're like, well, just mark your... I literally had somebody tell me, well, just mark your prices up more. No. That's not how my business operates. And if that's what you need to sell it at, then that's on you. And I told one guy, I was like, maybe if you don't have a way to sell it, you shouldn't buy it. And they're like, well, I can sell it on Twitter. How's that going for you? And I get talked to at card shows quite a bit because I get people that walk up to my table constantly and asking if I want to trade. Sure, what do you got? Let's take a look at what you got. I can't say yes or no, but I'll at least see what you got. And they'll break out one or two cards that are nowhere near the value of the cards that are in my display case that they want to trade for. And then comes the, well, what about wax? You want to trade for some wax? And I'm like, and in my mind, I've never called retail wax. In my mind, wax is hobby product. What do you got? And they bust out megas, blasters, hangers, and I'm like, yeah, I don't buy retail. And they're just like, the look on their face, they get pissed, and I'm just like, listen, why did you buy that anyways? And they go, well, because I can flip it and make money. I'm like, how do you anticipate flipping it if you can't find buyers for it? And like, well, worst case, I'll sell it on eBay. And I'm like, okay, so let's say you buy a blaster and it's going for $40 on eBay. Okay, let's do some simple math real quick. You obviously don't have a volume account on eBay if you're not selling it already on eBay. So that means you're just a standard account, and you're going to get charged 13% for your sale. So if you're going to sell it for $40 and you're going to get dinged 13%, that's $5.20. So your $40 then becomes $34.80. Oh, but in order for you to be competitive, you had to then pay for the shipping yourself because you did free shipping. So that alone is going to cost you $5. Now you're at $29.80 that you're left with afterwards. Well, you also then paid tax on the blaster as well. So that's $2 in tax on the $20 blaster. So now you're at $27.80 left over. And then your blaster cost was $20, so now you're at $7.80 profit. So all this work that you just put in was for $7.80. So let's call it $8. Let's round up. Okay. Lesson in economics. The amount of time that you just put into that is worth more than that. Okay? When you say you have a means, an avenue to sell, that would be a store. That would be a huge social media following, guaranteed buyers, that kind of stuff. If you don't have a means to sell it, don't buy it. If you're not ripping it, sorry. If you're not ripping it, if your intention is to sell it, but you don't have the avenue to sell it already, don't buy it. I see too many people that go to all these stores, they take pictures. What should I get? What do you mean, what should you get? If you don't know what you're getting, don't get it. I don't buy Pokemon because I don't rip Pokemon. And I don't resell Pokemon. I bought a little bit today because I found some because my wife and son like Pokemon. I didn't buy it to resell it. If I have Pokemon on my table, it's because I got it through wholesale. Not stuff I got through retail. It's because I got it wholesale. And I took it to increase my volumes. Okay? That's for me. But buying a blaster and selling it for $7.80 profit is not worth it. Because then once, let's say this person then takes his blaster and ships it to the customer, and the customer that he sells it to is a zero feedback account, because that's a lot of the people buying on eBay are zero feedback accounts. I know this because I see this all the time, and I get it myself. I get a lot of messages from low feedbacks and zero feedbacks. And let's say this zero feedback buyer is the one that bought his blaster. And then opens the blaster when he gets it, doesn't like the cards that are inside, and then opens up a case to return the blaster saying that it came damaged or that it was already opened or whatever the fraudulent idea may be behind it, and then sends it back to this guy. Now, instead of $7.80, even if let's say buyer, at best case scenario, didn't touch the blaster and just returns it to him. Who pays the return shipping? Not the buyer. So, now, your $7.80, because it's going to cost $5 to get it shipped back to you, is now $2.80. And that's if the product actually comes back how you shipped it. And it's not worth it. Now, I don't sell retail. And I say that semi-tongue-in-cheek. Because I know if I say that I don't sell retail, I did not say never have sold retail. I said I don't sell retail. Because I have sold retail in the past. A couple years ago, up until the summer of 2020, when Chronicles basketball from 2019-20 came out, the Zion and Ja rookie year, I had made quite a few purchases of large volume of retail at the store. I'd found full displays of Optic and Prism and Chronicles and Illusions and whatever the case may be. Actually, Illusions I didn't. I never found Illusions. I had to buy that from somebody else. But Optic and Prism and whatever for basketball. And I cleaned out displays. I'll admit it, I'm no shame about that. I cleaned out displays massive times. I mean, I literally cleaned out 3 straight stores of Optic. And my intention is opening. I wasn't using it for breaks. I wasn't using it to flip, to make money. So, I was telling Taylor this story earlier today. I was working up north, and on my drive back, I stopped at Burlington and Everett, and also I was up in Bellingham before. And I got Bellingham, Burlington, and Everett. I got 3 straight stores of Optic basketball. We're talking full stock. 1 full display. So 5 megas per, 8 blasters per, or 10 blasters per. The 10 hanger boxes and the 20 hanger packs, I think, is what the full display was. Okay? 3 straight stores like that. So I get it all. I go out in my truck, I rip the shit out of that. I ain't gonna argue. I'm not gonna deny that one bit. I'm about halfway through getting Zion colors and Ja colors and LeBrons and Giannis and Curry and KD, whatever. I'm getting all these colors, right? I literally have some of them graded to this day. And so I hit all this stuff and a few autos. And I get halfway through everything I bought, and I'm just like, I'm at this point, I'm like, I was bored. I was bored opening it because it was the same cards over and over again. Even the reactives, even the pink camos, even the rookies, everything was just repetitive because that's what retail is. It's the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And occasionally you might get a one-off. But retail is mass-produced with the same stuff repetitively so that you're not going to get anything massive except for the occasional case hit type of thing. And we're talking like their case hits are 1 in 5 cases type of thing. So I get to the point I'm just like, my God, I'm burnt out. I can't open any more Optic. And so I literally snap a picture of it. This was, by the way, this was Mosaic, was one of the other ones. So this was kind of a combo story between the two because I did this both with Optic and Mosaic. And so I'm in my truck, and I snap on my console. I have one of those deep consoles, middle consoles, because I have a pickup. And so I literally stack up these boxes on my console, and I take a picture of them right then and there. And a picture of everything I had left, which I had about half. I was halfway through everything I opened. And I took a picture of everything left, threw it up on eBay, and before I even got out of the parking lot, it sold. And I sold it for, I sold the entire half for what I paid for the whole thing. So I basically ripped all that Optic and all that Mosaic for free because I got all that money back. Now, and that was fees included, so that was after the fees. I took the fees into account as well. So I still came out broke even after fees. But that's the thing. I sold it in bulk. I didn't go around and try to piece it out like what a lot of these kids are doing that I'm seeing, and part of that's because they can only get 1 or 2 boxes at a time. But it's like, if you don't have the avenue to sell it and you're not interested in taking the fees, then don't do it. Because I promise you, you're not coming out ahead. You are not coming out ahead. Now, if you're on Twitter trying to sell retail, you get laughed out of the building. You'll get destroyed on Twitter for that. Now, Instagram's a little bit different. I see a lot of people selling on Instagram and Facebook groups and stuff. But if you post on Twitter that you're selling that much retail, dude, you're going to get eaten alive. Twitter is not the avenue for that. It's brutal. I watch people just get massacred on Twitter. It's crazy. It's comical at times, but it's crazy. And so if you know people who go around and, you know, grab the onesie twosie boxes and try to sell them now, honestly, I'd advise them not to, because it doesn't look good for them, and the odds are that they're not going to come out ahead when it's all said and done. Odds are that they're going to end up losing money, and that's because they don't have a storefront to sell it in. They don't have an eBay store with low fees to sell it in. They don't have a social media following to sell it to. You know, if some of these people that I'm talking to have 400 followers, 300 followers, 200 followers, that's not enough followers to sell. And they go, well, I can get retweets. That's fantastic. But I know accounts that have 4,000 or 5,000 followers, and they don't sell crap on social media. And it's all in having buyers as followers versus having just followers. And that's the thing. Too many people try to increase their follower account by just doing giveaways and stuff. Doing giveaways does not gain you followers that are going to buy from you. Doing giveaways is how you're going to get followers that are just looking for a handout. That's it. That's why I don't do giveaways really on my social media. I'll do it every so often. But I like to turn it into a game, you know, who's going to have the high score, who's going to have the most rushing yards, that kind of stuff. But I try to do more giveaways through break night, through that kind of stuff, because that's going to be I'm rewarding my customers and people who support my business. But if anybody really wanted to win that, or win the thing that I'm giving away, they'll come and join. You know, when I did the giveaway for the Giannis wave from the optic set, the PSA 9 optic Giannis wave, I had 180 entries, and it took 2 or 3 randomized to get a winner that was actually watching the show that night, because the people that were entering were just retweet hounds. And I'd rather it go to somebody. And now, you know, the guy that won it, he watched several weeks, and he every so often still pops in every so often. And he's interacted with me a number of times on social media. So that's the type of thing, like, you know, getting followers to that level is a little bit different. But it's like, yeah. Anyway, rant over about that. So we do have a box to open tonight, everybody. I hope you guys are ready, and I have to change over my camera because I see that I'm backwards right now. So give me a moment while I switch me camera. Oh yeah, you guys see that, don't you? Don't ya? This would be compliments of Taylor for the tip on getting this box. Had he not reached out to me this morning, I would not have gotten this box. And so you guys can thank Taylor for letting me in on being able to have a product to rip tonight. So it was last minute, but it worked out in my favor. So we're going to rip a mega box of the new 2021 Optic basketball. So let's get to it. Now, this is the first that I've ripped. I did get a blaster as well, and I opened that myself earlier today because I wanted to see with the blaster if it was solid or not. So in a mega, we get 40 cards in the box. We get 10 mega box exclusive hyper pink prisms. No guarantees on autos, but there are checkerboards that are in the retail. So we could potentially get a checkerboard. So let's just get to it. So here are base Optic, Jaren Jackson, Derrick Rose, and Splash LeBron James Splash insert. This is a cool set. I liked it last year, but I like it even more this year. This is neat. LeBron James Splash, and then we get a Kuzma Hyper. I'm going to drop my camera down just a tad because we're up pretty high. That's better. So LeBron Splash insert and a Kuzma Hyper Pink. Then we get Kevin Knox. We get a Tyrell Terry, our first rookie. And we get Express Lane Isaiah Thomas insert. And our pink is Robert Woodard for the Hyper Pink. Wrong Sacktown rookie. Donovan Mitchell. Jarrett Culver. Winner stays Kevin Durant. That's a cool insert. And then we get Jonathan Isaac in the Hyper. Bradley Beal. Onyeka, rated rookie. And we get a Jimmy Butler T-. And this is the Prism, or the Hollow, I should say. Not numbered. But this is the Hollow T- Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Buckets. And then our Hyper is Eric Gordon. Dwight Powell. Kawhi. And we get a winner stays purple Kevin Durant. Very cool. Not numbered, but still. KD winner stays purple. And then our TJ Warren Hyper. Cracking down 1-0 already. Not surprising. I kind of figured they were going to get, that they were potentially going to lose the first game. Paul George. Saban Lee rated rookie. We get a T- Giannis. This is just the base. And there we go. Hyper of Tyrese Halliburton. That's what I'm talking about. Now, granted, yes, it has a nasty print line down that side and down there along the bottom. But still, Tyrese Halliburton Hyper. I'll take that. Hey, if we're not going to get an Anthony Edwards or a LaMelo Ball, I'll take a Tyrese Halliburton. Tyler Hero, CJ McCollum, My House, Paul George. I like this set this year. That's a cool way they did the design this year. And Mo Bamba with the Hyper. Siku. Isaiah Stewart, rated rookie. And we get a silver of Marcus Smart. Hollow with a Devin Booker hyper right behind it. Anthony Davis, Josh Okogie, Bam Adebayo, Air Defense. That's the first time I've seen that. It's got like a arcade look to it. That's actually freaking cool. I like that set. I might have to build that set. That's pretty badass. And then Miles Turner with our hyper. And last pack of the Mega. Come on. Mitchell Robinson. Peyton Pritchard rated rookie. Then we get a hollow. My House Jimmy Butler. Hollow. Jimmy Buckets. And that's a great picture for them to use on that. Look at that picture. That's the perfect picture for that card. That is so cool. Jimmy Buckets, My House, Hollow. And then a Kenyon Martin Jr. hyper. So that was our 1 mega of Optic basketball. That was actually really cool. I like this product. I like this. So, we're going to give away... Let's see what I got here again. Actually, we're going to do this. Pair with that one though. Here, I know what we're going to do. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to give away 2 sets of 2. So 2 winners, and the winners are going to win 2 cards each. It's going to be one winner is going to win the Jimmy Butler duo. So these are both hollows. Jimmy Butler T- and Jimmy Butler My House. And then the second place is going to win a Magic pair of Jonathan Isaac and Mo Bamba in the hyper. So those are going to be the 2 winners. So the Jimmy Buckets duo and the Orlando Magic hyper duo are going to be our 2 winners for tonight. Where is my... There it is. Okay, so... Everybody put in, just put me in the chat if you want to be entered to win. I'm going to, while you guys are putting your names down, I'm going to get the random thing going. We're going to do the dice roller first like we've been doing lately. We're going to randomize the list 8 times. 6 and 2 is 8. All right, David and Taylor. That's all we got on tonight? Well, I hope we... oh, Shane's on tonight. I hope we have full sellouts early tomorrow because tomorrow is my anniversary. And my wife and I have dinner plans, so tomorrow night's got to be an early night. All right, well, Shane is bowing out, so we're just gonna randomize this because I don't think we have anybody else on right now. So here we go. So 8 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th and final. Good luck, guys. David winning the Jimmy Buckets. And Taylor. Okay. Taylor says send it all to Miller. I can do that. So David wins all 4. Congratulations, David. And right on, Taylor. Okay, so we have break night going tomorrow night. We have 3 breaks listed, as I just mentioned. We have kind of a shorter night tomorrow night. We definitely have to get rolling and get things done. Master Box Challenge should fill up pretty easy. There's only 3 spots left. And then we have a football break and then a baseball break. And the baseball break's almost half full already. But we got to get those rolling because, like I said, anniversary, dinner plans, got to get moving. So that means tell your friends, tell your family, let's get some stuff in there. Oh, there you go, Taylor. Nice. The Pukasevsky Silver Hollow rated rookie. Heck yeah. Hard to argue with that. Yeah, I definitely will be trying to get my hands on a little bit more optic. If I can get, if I can get my hands on some mega boxes at a decent price, I'll set up a break of it. I don't want to do blasters. I'll do megas, but I won't do blasters. Just not. I try not to break retail. So, but megas, there's some potential value in them, so we can jump on that kind of stuff later. But anyway, so I'm gonna get out of here because I gotta go get some stuff done yet tonight. But I thank you guys for tuning in, and yeah, we're gonna have some fun. Got a lot of growth that I'm looking forward to over the next year, and I'm gonna keep this going, and hopefully with some increase or some improvements to the YouTube channel and to the studio here that I'm putting together, things will be looking more professional, and we'll get growing. And hopefully I can get the if I can get enough time to get the podcast going, that'll help too. So anyway, guys, thanks a lot for joining me tonight, and I will see you guys tomorrow night right here for break night. If not, I'll see you next week here on Sports Stuff Hub Live. And have a good week, everybody. Have a good night. Stay safe out there.